Welcome back. Welcome back.
Here we are.
You know, clouds is pretty low. Turn that
If people get turned up, they're not used to receiving podcasts from us on this day of the week.
Absolutely.
It's a special one because everything's happening in the world, going all crazy. So
yeah,
we had to get together to discuss this.
Yeah, we had to disrupt our own flow. So welcome back, guys. This is the Different World Podcast, the show where we thrive on having disruptive conversations about sex, politics, religion, pop culture, and everything else in between. I'm your host, Corey Kareem, alongside the lovely
Angelina Williams.
Yeah, so you know what? Man, social media, as usual, has been buzzing like crazy on two things. But the first one I want to get into is this Steve Harvey versus Monique.
Ooh, Lord.
Man. So before we even like hightail into that, we're going to start off like this. We're going to go right into the clip, and then we're just going to break it down. Just like that.
All right.
So let me just play this clip right here.
Sydney that he really is out here.
Let me tell you.
They're not fit that flexing.
We
gotta flex a different way. We out here in a game. This the money game. This ain't the black man's game. This ain't the white man's game. This is the money game.
But
we in the money game. And you cannot sacrifice yourself. The best thing you can do for poor people is not be one. You cannot
help them. In the money game. But let me tell you what the game is before the money game.
Like
before the money game, it's called the integrity game. And we've lost the integrity worrying about the money.
One more.
And wait a minute.
If I crumble, my children crumble, my grandchildren crumble. I cannot, for the sake of my integrity, stand up here and let everybody that's counting on me crumble so I can make a statement. There are ways to win the war in a different way. We got more right after this.
Okay. So that was the Steve Harvey clip from his show where he had Monique on, and he's talking about obviously the issues that Monique has been in the last, I guess, several months, and probably for a couple years now.
A few years.
But most recently, she had that issue with Netflix where she was trying to command more dollars, and then she called, and she didn't get what she requested, and then she called for people to kind of boycott or blacklist Netflix.
Yeah.
So,
but prior to that,
yes,
like
give some
context.
Yeah.
Prior to that, she did Lee Daniels a favor by acting in Precious, which gave her Oscar. I think it was a nomination. Did she win the Oscar or was nominated? I'm not too sure.
I didn't even
she only got paid. That movie was an incredible success.
Right.
I have my feelings about it, so I'm not going to go into all that. But she got paid $50,000 for it, which is really not a whole lot.
What year did that come out? That was like 2004 or something like that? Like
No. I think it was much later than that. But
yeah.
The point is that she made $50,000 for it. She said, you know what? I'm not going to charge, like, I'm not going to get my regular rate of what I'm expecting. Mm-hmm. But yo, it's my boy. I'm gonna do.
Hook him up.
Yeah, I'm gonna do this thing for
HBO,
him.
help a brother out.
Right. So she signed on to the project or what have you, and I guess it got a lot more acclaim and praise than expected. So the promotion vamped up, and now they're going to Cannes Film Festival. They're traveling all over the place, and she's like, "Yo, this $50,000 can't stretch." You know what I mean? So she's like, "Yo, I understand you guys want me to do this, but you know, I need you guys to I need to get paid a little bit more, right? I mean, everybody else is making hand over fist, you know, with respect to the success of it. So she is arguably one of the biggest stars in it. Miss Sidibe, I can't remember. Is it Gabriella?
What, the main
character? Anyways, like she's, Monique was a heavy hitter in that movie. No pun intended. And so if everybody else is filling up their bellies, why should she that was her feeling about it.
So that's
that kind of Lee Daniels, threw some shade her way and said, well, like, you are not playing the game right. You know, the studio is getting pretty pissed off right now. You're not playing the game right.
Yeah.
Then folks were starting to blacklist her. she wasn't getting work, what have you. Then, because it kept on boiling over, her and her husband had their little YouTube channel.
Yeah.
She did her stand-up talking about who should S her D.
She called out some pretty big names, though.
Yeah.
So I think, here's my stance. I think, like Steve Harvey mentioned, she's fighting two wars. So the first war I'd like to address is that it's very, if your goal, like, if I break this down into like the everyday person's situation where you have a boss, a CEO, a manager, whatever the title is above you that kind of controls your workflow situation. If your goal is to get to X position or X, whatever that is, you don't do that by shitting on the person. I mean, like...
So they should shit on you?
No. But what I'm trying to say is, I often like to refer to what I call the Oprah Winfrey effect, which is simple. If you know Oprah's like line of success, she started off working in a small town, not radio station, but broadcast station, doing news, local news, really small. Then she got the opportunity to do the show. Then she did the show for many years and then built up enough equity where she can become an executive producer of that own show, and then built up more equity where she can own the production to do that show, to now where she owns literally her own network. So there was a process that Oprah had to go through before she was able to command and control and influence the game. So what I'm trying to say is Monique, like, was in the midst of that process, and then, if this is your goal to get millions of dollars to do this, you just basically backhanded the people that could help you to get there. So
I resist that for a few reasons. If you really dive into Oprah's story, right, she speaks very frequently about asking for more, wanting more money, saying, you know what, I'm doing this work, I deserve to be paid more. Right? I deserve to be paid what my male counterparts are being paid.
Right.
When her boss said, well, do you have children? Do you have a house? He does. Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, it doesn't matter. We're still doing the same job.
Right.
And her result was she ended up leaving. Right? I think it's disingenuous for people to tell people's quote-unquote triumph stories by the cliff notes and ignore the hardships and sometimes the bun that they themselves have received. Like, no one did anything by fault. No one did anything great by keeping on with the status quo.
No, 100%. But what I'm trying to say is like Steve Harvey was saying, there's a way to go about it, is what I'm trying to say. So you could go about it any which way you want to, but just understand for every action, there's a consequence. So if you're already in an industry where we control very little or none at all, and then you shit on the 3-4 people that have arguably the biggest influence within your ethnic group in the industry.
But I don't think it started out that way. I don't think she came out of gate like, everybody, somebody did. Like, it wasn't like that.
Understood. Regardless of how it started, my point is this. If your X goal is to command $3 million, just say, versus the $500,000 she was offered, how do you feel shitting on people that could potentially help you to get there?
Why do you keep on saying shitting on people, though? Because you can't say regardless of how it started, because that context matters.
Of course, but I'm just trying to say, like, again, if your X goal is here, and you know that in your line of industry, there's only a handful of people that can really help you to open those doors or get this person's attention, why would you fuck with those people when you know there's only this many people you could, like, that can really have your back or your corner? I'm not saying
they didn't have her back or her corner.
But here's what I'm saying. Sometimes, I remember Magic Johnson said this he was doing an interview with Maverick Carter, and he was saying, a lot of times guys come up to him and like, I got this investment deal, and they feel like they should, really get a lot of Magic's time because they're a brother and they're doing well and they put together a decent deck. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm about big ideas right now. So I tell a lot of people no, even if it's a decent one. So I'm saying sometimes it's just about the presentation of it. It's not like Oprah was like, I don't want to work with you. I don't really have those details, but sometimes it's just how are you going to finesse that? Sometimes it just takes a little bit of a reapproach. It takes a different way of finessing. And my ultimate thing is, I don't feel like if your end goal was to get $3 million, I don't think that was the way to do it. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay, like my mom says, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Absolutely.
Right? And so if we're having a discussion about, were there other ways that Monique could have went about getting the money? Probably, maybe. I don't know. A lot of people are saying yes. But that, fundamentally, for me, is not the point. Right? Because I think that there are a plethora of things that have taken place throughout this journey. Now, I wouldn't have gone on stage and be like, "Suck my dick." I probably wouldn't have done that. That's not... But I would have.
What would Ange do?
I wouldn't have gone on stage and done it.
So behind closed doors, you would have told Oprah to her face?
No. But okay, the point that I'm trying to make is, I think that when we're talking about Monique wasn't a rookie. You know, she had that show,
Facts.
whatever. She's been doing whatever.
Facts.
Like, she didn't beg them for the opportunity. They came to her, right? And she's saying, "Yo, fam, you know what we're trying to do here. You know, I feel like I should get paid what I deserve. You know what it is." And everybody, according to her, and according to the recordings that she played, which I think that was a kind of bait, like the fact that she played her recording with Tyler Perry.
So she recorded it.
Yeah, well, she recorded the conversation she had.
Did he know about that?
Well, after the fact, because she played it for the world. That was kind of sideways. But I think that I think it's a kind of that was a desperate move. I feel like if I could put myself in her shoes, she'd be like, "Yo, everybody thinks I'm lying. Everybody thinks I'm making this stuff up. Like, this is ruining me." And if everyone would say, "Yes, Monique did this thing." I don't know why I keep on saying Monique. Yes, Monique did this thing. And yes, she is not. She is correct in her assessment of it. If they don't use their influence, use their power to back her, then what is it worth? Are you really my fam? Are you really my people?
Yeah, but here's my problem with that. I get what you're saying, but I like to operate from the mental construct that nobody owes you anything.
Okay,
so I feel like she comes into this like, "Steve, if you would have done this," I'm like, "Yo, but yeah, you and Steve are cool, but Oprah doesn't owe you anything. Steve doesn't owe you anything.
For sure.
So I don't like that."
But I think that's for me, again, I'm not caping for Monique. I'm really not, right? But I'm caping for the principle of what she's trying to stand for. And people might argue that as well. But if you are going to come to me with criticisms about my actions, and you are supposed to be my family, I don't want to hear, like, if I can't expect you to move in certain spaces to help me, don't fix your mouth to tell me nothing about nothing I'm doing.
Right.
Really. I mean, if we could go more specifically, because I wanted to talk about this with some of the content in that clip that you played. Steve Harvey really, I mean, I shouldn't have been surprised. I shouldn't have been angry because Steve Harvey is a piece of shit. But yo, I was livid.
Wow,
hearing that.
Which part triggered you? Which part triggered you?
A lot of parts triggered me, but just like my whole like the animalistic side of me, like the innate response to it was like, why is he hollering over her like that? Yeah. Like, why is he batting her up like she's a 7-year-old child? Yeah. Like, it would have taken a whole lot for me not to punch him in his mouth. Why are you talking so loud? Yeah. You're right here. And the thing about it's like you have me, if you really care about me, right? Maybe he lost his mind because, you know, sometimes that Hollywood money does something to you.
Sure.
But you have me here on this stage in front of all these white people, right? All these white people dogging me like this. You're not having a conversation, right? You are now screaming at me in front of all these people. And it was disgraceful. He wouldn't let her get a word in edgewise. He was scolding her like she was a child. And if we really want to have a conversation about varying perspectives and views on how to handle that situation, you don't need to be hollering like that.
Okay, that's fair. But so I'm going to use that.
So that part triggered me, but go on.
So I'm going to use that. So the same way you feel that Steve shouldn't be hollering over Monique like that, the same way I feel like if Monique was trying to make a statement, if Monique was trying to bring to light some certain issues and make a point, I feel it's the same thing. Their approach was totally wrong. Her approach was incorrect. In fact, if I can think of like an analogy, Monique coming to coming to the world about the whole Netflix situation. I know there were many other situations. The way she went about it kind of reminded me of that preacher on the corner who has a megaphone trying to preach the gospel, whose content is good. Yeah, it's fair and sound. The
delivery's all messed up.
But the delivery's so messed up, and even, you know, Christians, people who believe in God or whatever it is, they don't even want to hear that because it's just, I can't, you're so loud, I can't hear you right now. And I think at the end of the day, for me, that's what it is with Monique. Like, how do you even want me to, like, really grasp what you're saying when you went on stage or wherever it was and you're like Oprah, you know, SMB.
But I mean, that was a comedy sketch, or she's doing her stand-up comedy bit. So I think that's a little bit different as well.
But the context is important because there's history behind that. As they say, behind every joke is some truth. So.
For sure. Oh yeah, she wasn't denying that there wasn't truth there. Yeah. But she did, like, if you look at her, how she speaks on like daytime television shows, you know, how she speaks on her YouTube channel versus her comedy, that was the outlier, right? That was So although it was like, damn, I don't feel it's fair to judge her entirely on that because she's been talking about this forever. I think for some people, I'm going to talk about Monique for a minute. Why I have a hard time really standing behind Monique. And all leaders of movements, if she wants to be considered one, are flawed. So I'm not trying to like say she has to be perfect. Right. Was when she caped for Roseanne Barr. She lost me on that. I was like, oh, forget it. Like, this was supposed to be like, you know, black sisters need to be. And she's going after that, what's that girl's name? Amy Schumer and whatever, and talking about racial bias and gender bias and, you know, all that stuff. And then she caped for Roseanne. I was like, what? But again, I'm just separating that incident with the overall message in this clip. The other fundamental thing that was very disturbing to me was that integrity is negotiable for Steve Harvey. Like, if anything costs me my integrity, it's too expensive. The price is too high.
I hear what you're saying.
Like, how could you say, well, forget my integrity because I got whatever.
So for me, the way I interpreted that comment, that clip, was so there's I remember I was watching something and it was like what happened in this movie clip I watched was very profound to me. So this detective was telling this girl this little story and she was just like, you know, a guy sees a girl at a bar, and he comes up to the girl, and he goes, "You want to come home with me tonight?" Girl doesn't know him at all, and she's like, "Excuse me, what kind of girl do you think I am?" And he's like, "Okay, I apologize, sorry." He's like, "What if I offer you $1 million to come home with me tonight?" She stops, and she thinks about it, and he before she can even answer it, he's like, "The only difference between what I said there and what I said now was the fact that I put something of value in forth of you to make you think differently if you would do it or not." So to me, the integrity thing is a matter of value. To me, remove money from the equation. At the end of the day, money is paper, and it's just a means in our society for opportunity. So what Steve is really trying to say, or the way I interpret it is, this is my livelihood, and this is how I take care of my family, and this is how I'm going to help set up the legacy of the Harveys for the next 2-3 generations or whatever. So the way I took it is he's thinking more so long term. Again, back to the Oprah. So in my opinion, he's thinking long term, and it's not like he didn't want to say things like Monique says. It's in my opinion, he was thinking like, well, if I say this now, and I say it like how I really want to say it, it'll mess up this opportunity, and this opportunity. And that, as we learned today, every decision is pivotal. It might not be the big decision. So I'm less like, if I don't make these moves now, then I won't be in a position to really own stakes where I can own this piece of steak and then really get on and do what I want.
Two words.
What?
Dave Chappelle.
What about it?
What do you mean, what about it?
Give me context. I know what Dave Chappelle did, but enlighten me in this sense.
Okay, so Dave Chappelle had his show. They want him to do some messed up stuff. Yeah, he's making a whole lot of money. Yeah. And he's like, nah, I'm not going to compromise myself to do this, right? walked away from it, came back to to get the highest paying stand-up or comedy special on Netflix.
So you just gave me this whole spiel about context. What was important to understand about the Dave Chappelle show at that time wasn't just the fact that the studio wanted him to do more of the show or do certain things. It was also the fact that at that time, there are people, and most of his crowd were Caucasians, and there were people coming up saying the jokes, and they weren't really consciously getting what they were saying. And they were saying things very loosely, because, he had a lot of racially motivated jokes in his skits, and they were saying things very loosely, and he was like, hey, dude, that's like not that funny. Like, I get it, but it's not that funny. And it was starting to get to him. Like, they weren't really getting the true meaning behind their jokes. They were just taking it as a joke. And after a while, consciously, that started eating at him. So in addition to those things, mentioned,
it's still integrity. So if his show runners or writers and whatever, the producers of the show, didn't require him to continue in a way that he didn't feel was compromising, he would have continued doing it, but he did not want to compromise anymore. Right? And so he said, my integrity means more to me, right? And he walked away from it. And then because he walked away, he turned around and got like a huge reward. Also, let's throw another one into it. Colin Kaepernick, right? There is a wonderful YouTuber, blogger called, the YouTube channel is called For Harriet.
Yeah.
I believe the young lady that does the blog or the vlog and articles, her name's Kim. And she actually asked a really interesting question to her listeners. And she was like, do we only respect or value that type of stand for what you believe in integrity when it's coming from a man? And I was like, interesting. We like to idolize and praise the civil rights leaders and the activists and the people that have come before us to really bring about change. But it wasn't like everybody was like on their bandwagon, yeah, let's all do this, let's all boycott, let's all, be a part of this movement. They were very much alone, right? So the idea, I'm not trying to equate Monique to like a Rosa Parks or whatever, right? But what I'm trying to say is, if she is genuine, let's just say that what she's doing and what she's saying is real and genuine, and she's doing it for the young ones to come behind her, right? This level of isolation and persecution that she's experiencing is nothing new. It actually comes with the territory, right? But you will find people. What if she is successful in this campaign, right? You'll find people that'll come on like, yeah, I've been about Monique, well, that's my girl, that's kind of how people do it, right? But the majority of people are very much like Steve Harvey. Everything is negotiable to them, including their souls.
Well, for me, I like to think that Steve Harvey was thinking long term, and I think here's what I'd also think. If I'm Steve Harvey, I'm saying everyone has their limit to what is negotiable, and I just think for Steve Harvey, perhaps again, just assuming, he hasn't come to that point in his career where someone's put him in a position where he feels like he'd be selling his soul. I think he's just a man that understands.
I think he will sell his soul. Did you see the clip of his old stand-up comedy where he was like, if they want me to act like a monkey, I'll act like a monkey, and he's like doing that.
But it was a stand-up skit though, what?
Yeah, it was a stand-up skit, but there's truth in every joke.
Okay.
Isn't there?
Okay. I was trying to do the same thing back on you.
And I'm going to use yours back on you. Right? I agree that there was some truth in Monique's stand-up, right? Mm. But there's also some truth in what Steve was saying. And that's Steve has repeatedly shown that, right? That's why Bernie didn't fuck with him.
All right.
R.I.P. Bernie Mac.
Rest in peace.
Real king of comedy.
So ultimately, whose side are you on? Are you with Monique or are you riding with Steve Harvey? In this case, this particular case.
Are you asking me that?
Yes, I'm asking you that.
Well, if you guys have not gathered... I'm definitely not with Steve Harvey.
Okay. For me, I am definitely not with Monique on this particular situation, nor am I really with Steve Harvey. I'm just thinking at the end of the day, there's a better way to do it. And I just don't think Monique did it the right way. And in this industry where you're a minority, you just got to play the game a little bit differently until you can own the game like your girl Oprah Winfrey. That's it.
All right.
That's all I got to say.
Like, yeah, you guys let us know what your thoughts are. Because, I mean, I know everyone's been talking about it, but we'd love to hear what you guys think in the comment section. Absolutely.
Check us out on ADW_podcast on Instagram, or search for A Different World Podcast on YouTube. Excuse me. Remember to like, comment, post, share, all that good stuff. We need all the love we can get.
Here we go.
Peace and love.